Springer, Norma Rashid, Pat Berry's weather, and Greg Horde with sports. Now, live from Crosley Square, this is News 5.
Good evening. With Ohio's primary less than a month away now, the Buckeye State is beginning to become an important stop on the campaign trail. Tonight, it's Pat Buchanan, the man who gave President Bush a scare in some of the early primaries here in Cincinnati, looking for support. The presidential candidate joins us live now from Delhi. Pat, thanks for joining us tonight. Why are you still in the race?
So we can give the voters of Ohio a chance to express themselves on whether they think George Bush deserves renomination, whether they think his leadership in the past is what they wanted, and whether they want him again for 4 more years, Jerry.
But doesn't he have the nomination sewed up already?
He's got the delegates, Jerry, but I think the primary race is a national debate about where we're going as a country and what we stand for as a party. And I think Republicans in a great state like Ohio and in California and New Jersey haven't even been heard from, and they've got a right to be heard from.
What's wrong with President Bush?
There's a number of things. One, he raised taxes when he said he wouldn't. Secondly, he signed a quota bill when he said he wouldn't. Third, he's leading this country into some globalist new world order, when the message from Los Angeles is we got to start putting America first. A lot of things are wrong with him, Jerry.
Is that reason enough in case he gets the nomination not to support him? Would you support Ross Perot instead?
No, Jerry, I've said I'll support the nominee of my party if George Bush wins it, because I don't think we can risk having Bill Clinton pick our Supreme Court justices. But I do think the people of Ohio ought to send the president a message and the Congress a message that the country's gone in the wrong direction. We need new focus, new priorities, and new leadership, and they can do that on primary day still.
Should the president have a new running mate?
You mean, should he drop Dan Quayle? Who do you have in mind, Jerry?
Yeah. Pat Buchanan?
I don't think that's really in the cards, Jerry. Mr. Bush and I used to be a lot closer than we are right now, and I don't think Jim Baker would go along with the change.
Are we going to see Pat Buchanan running against Dan Quayle in 1996?
Only the Lord knows those questions, Jerry, but I think the voters really ought to focus on where their country's going in '92. It's a fateful year. We're going to decide the destiny. Are we going to give up our sovereignty and independence and head into this new world order? Or are we going to start putting America first? It's one of the biggest questions facing us.
Will you get a chance to address the convention, the Republican National Convention?
Jerry, I've decided I'm going to be speaking in prime time in Houston. The only open question is where, whether it's inside the hall or outside.
I got a feeling wherever you speak, you will be covered.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, thank you very much. Pat Buchanan, a noted television commentator and also a candidate for a Republican nomination for president. Noah?
In other news, a special ed teacher at Western Hills High School is behind bars tonight after being busted for allegedly dealing in crack cocaine. Police say 42-year-old William Riley was running a crack house out of his Avondale home. Police say they made the bust Saturday night after an extensive investigation by Operation Street Corner. Right now, Riley is still being held at the Justice Center on $210,000 bond. The school board tells us it plans to wait until Riley is out of jail, then it will hold a disciplinary hearing. Until then, Riley will not be able to return to school.
Accused multiple murderer John Fortenberry is mentally competent to stand trial. That's the word tonight from his state psychiatrist. Fortenberry is waiting to go to trial for allegedly killing Joseph Darren of Milford last year. He was arraigned on the charges here in Hamilton County in January. Fortenberry is also facing murder charges in Oregon and New Jersey and is awaiting sentencing for a murder in Alaska.
A prison inmate who held a female guard hostage in Indiana is dead tonight after he was shot in the side. It happened at the correctional complex in Pendleton, Indiana, near Indianapolis. 45-year-old Joseph Hicks used a homemade knife and a broken pool cue to take the guard hostage. 10 hours later, a prison sharpshooter shot Hicks in the side. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. The female guard was not hurt in the incident.
The local doctor accused of drawing happy faces on the genitals of some of his patients has been cleared of misconduct charges. The accusations against Glenn Wharton were investigated by a group of Ohio surgeons. News 5's Steve Forrest reports Wharton says he's relieved and is continuing to operate on patients.
In his office, Glenn Wharton is still in control tonight, still the chief of staff at Shriners Burns Institute. 2 months ago, Dr. Wharton was under fire, accused of drawing happy faces on the genitals of some of his patients like Andy Ellis.
I don't believe that he has ever meant any harm whatsoever. He's done too much good to try to to drag anybody down.
Still, Shriners officials asked for an investigation. Tonight the results are in, and Dr. Warden has been cleared of any misconduct by a group of Ohio surgeons.
I've always thought that we were doing good work with the patients, because if not, then you would have trouble with your patients.
Warden received dozens of letters of support, many from people he doesn't even know. Like this one from the Reverend James Petty of Alexandria, Virginia. He wrote that Dr. Warden should be given a commendation, and he signed his letter with a happy face.
I think it would be a shame if he got disciplined or punished for something like that. If he'd hurt a patient or taken advantage of him, that's different. But my understanding was the patient who was drawn on wasn't very upset.
Warden does tell me he's thought about stopping his technique, but he says he'd hate to change something that's worked for years. So tonight, he's trying to get things back to normal. And that may be the biggest reason Dr. Warden agreed to talk with me. This is the atrium of the new Shriners Burns Institute. This building will be formally dedicated on Saturday, and Dr. Warden said at that dedication he wants the building to be the focus of attention, not whether its chief of staff has been cleared of the charges. Steve Forrest, News 5.
Dr. Warden has not seen a copy of the report clearing him. That's because Ohio law says the report cannot be made public. But News 5 has talked with a source who has seen the report, and that source confirms that Dr. Warden has been exonerated.
Up next on News 5, the Ohio Attorney General cracks down on daycare centers.
We'll have tips for you if you're looking for the right spot for your kids. Please stay with us. Ohio Attorney General Lee Fisher is cracking down on unsafe and unlicensed child care centers across the state. 17 have already been closed this year. News 5's education reporter Eileen Houston shows us that as the end of school approaches and parents start searching for summer daycare programs, there are a few tips to keep in mind.
These students may already be dreaming of summer vacation, but their parents may be dreading it. If you're a working parent, what do you do with your school-age child who is too young to stay home alone? That's what summer daycare programs are for. But you'd better hurry. Many of them are already full. But child care experts say before you pick the first program you find, there are a few things you should remember. Check to see if the facility is licensed. All facilities caring for more than 6 children must have a license. Compare choices. Always visit more than one facility. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Find out how long the center has been operating and ask for references. Check to see if facilities have ample, secure outdoor play space, and check the condition of the play equipment.
And for programs that are now in operation, to observe is probably the most important thing a parent can do. It's also valuable, important to ask for qualifications and training of staff. There is research showing that the more formal training, the better the quality of the program.
Well, if you're looking for a summer program for your child, remember to look for a program that is appropriate for your child's individuality. Experts say that it's also important to find a program that will stimulate your child's learning.
We're going to be offering special art activities. We're going to be going on field trips. We plan to go to the zoo, to the park, maybe to Sunrock Farm in Kentucky. And we're also planning to do a lot of language activities. But we think it's important that, we understand that these children have been in school for 9 months, and we want them to be able to, kick back and relax a little bit and have fun.
Experts say a lot of the tips are just common sense. The most important thing parents should remember, though, is to just trust their instincts.
If they feel like something isn't quite right, that they should go with that feeling and keep looking around till they feel very comfortable with the program.
Eileen Houston, News 5.
If you have questions about summer daycare programs, we have a couple of numbers you can call. 4C offers information on Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky programs. Call them at 221-0033. That's what's on the board, 0033. If you're interested in the Walnut Hills Learning Center and its programs, call them at 281-7593. 281-7593. Both organizations are willing to help.
Earlier in the newscast, we told you about a fire in East Walnut Hills. That's where our News 5's Marty Peratt is right now. Let's get an update on that fire in an apartment building there. Marty?
Well, Betsy, a very bad apartment fire here on Woodburn Avenue. Luckily, it looks like everybody got out. Now, I have with me Keith Walters, his District 4 chief. He's going to explain what it looked like when he showed up here. We're going to look at some pictures of what it looked like when we arrived. Keith, what'd you see?
Well, the first floor was heavily involved in the front of the building. And we also had problems with people being trapped on the upper floors. So our efforts went towards rescue initially. After other companies arrived, we were able to get lines laid, and we contained it to extending beyond the second floor.
Now, this was unusual to have a fire this time of the afternoon, you say, and also you had some rescues you had to pull off here.
Yeah, it just seems like somebody would have noticed it earlier before it got that involved. Ladder 9 rescued at least 5 people from the building. I'm sure there's other companies that assisted in rescue also, but I don't have that information at this time.
Now, it's our understanding one gentleman jumped from the 3rd floor. We were told that. What's his condition and how'd that happen?
Well, the information I got was that he jumped from the 3rd floor, and he did sustain serious to critical injuries from the rescue personnel. I believe possibly internal injuries and maybe a broken leg and arm.
Now, are you positive you got everybody out of there?
We've made a secondary search of everything, and there's nobody else in the building.
Okay, Chief, good job, and thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So that's the way it is here on Woodburn Avenue. It looks like everybody's out of there. The fire department's still up there checking things out, but luckily a lot of people are still alive tonight.
All right, thanks a lot, Marty. I'm glad no one was killed in that, and we'll check and see what happens.
And up next, Pat looks ahead in our 5-day forecast to see if the sunshine will last.
And later in sports, there's the A's Mark McGwire has been a human launching pad so far this season. We'll show you how he's on track to shatter home run records. Please stay with us.
We had an absolutely beautiful day today.
And a great weekend.
Yeah, it was a
no
good weekend. Let's talk about what a good weekend it was.
It was wonderful.
And I had a wonderful Mother's Day. I trust your mother got your flowers.
Yes, she certainly did, and made Dad look bad, I think. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure.
Oh.
No, Dad's with her all the time, and you know they have a real unique relationship. They spend a lot of time together, and really like spending that much time together.
Why do you find that so hard to believe?
No, I don't know too many other people that are like that. That's the thing. Even the people that really like each other.
Are you insinuating something here,
No,
Pat?
not to you.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. Not at all. Not to anybody. Okay, just. Let me just go on before I get in much of trouble. I like being with everybody, you know, really. I'm not saying a word. Here we go. Low this morning, 56 degrees. The high today was at 82. You can see way above normal. And I haven't said way above normal in a long time. I've been saying below normal for a long time. Let me show you what we look like right now. Current temperature in Cincinnati, 81, 38% humidity, winds from the southeast at 9 miles an hour. Our barometer is falling. It's at 30.08, and it is falling, like I mentioned. Let's take a look at the national satellite picture. Clear skies over the tri-state, however. Out to the west, we got some problems with clouds. The good news is our weather is actually coming from the southwest and moving up this way. We got quite a few miles of clear skies before we're going to have any problem. The problem is this area right here with a low pressure system. I think that low pressure system is going to be moving down to the south. So although there is a chance of us getting showers and scattered showers tomorrow afternoon, I really think that the bulk of the storms are going to move down to the south. Here's where it's raining right now: Arkansas, Missouri, up through Illinois, but all this is moving to the north, so some good news there. That low pressure system is what I'm keeping my eye on. I think it'll move down to the south, so the bulk of the rain that we get will be down to the south so far as severe, but I do think that there'll be a chance. Afternoon showers tomorrow, about a 40% chance. Then tomorrow night, about a 50% chance. It moves through fairly quickly on Wednesday. By Wednesday afternoon, we clear out and get some sunshine. But even though it's a cold front, it's more like a cool front with just some mild air on the other side. Great news there. Forecast for this evening, absolutely gorgeous, clear, perfect. 11 p.m. temperature at 68. Now, overnight, it'll be very nice, and you can open up the windows. Feels great. 60 degrees. And then for tomorrow, we should start out with some morning sun, and then becoming cloudy. Scattered showers. Tomorrow's high, 81. 5-day forecast will show you the chance of rain really late tomorrow and tomorrow evening. Then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and even Saturday looks pretty good. Look at these temperatures. 81 tomorrow. A little bit cooler on the other side. 75 and then 78. Back to the mid-80s on Friday, and then 80 degrees on Saturday. So some pretty good weather, to tell you the truth. You know, my mom and dad had been married for more than 51 years.
Congratulations to them.
That's a long time.
And they've had you for 40-some, and that's a long time.
Wait. 4D.
40, I'm sorry.
4D. 4-0.
4-0 plus a few months.
Yeah, thank goodness I'm not 52. Then they'd really be nervous, wouldn't they? Huh?
Yes, they would be, Pat. Thanks. In commentary, civil rights leader Jesse Jackson recently visited Cincinnati. He is surely a voice for the poor, but will mainstream America pay any attention? It's the subject of Jerry's commentary tonight. Jerry?
Thanks, Norma. We have to listen. I didn't say we have to agree, but we have to listen. We have to respond. We have to hear what he's saying, because he's the only national politician left who talks to those who have nothing to do with the system or the suits who run it. The president motorcades through L.A. Clinton says what he's going to do, and Perot at least suggests that he's working on an answer. But as sincere as these guys might be, to the folks on the streets and in the ghettos and on the unemployment line, living poor, real poor, to them it's all a bunch of words and promises never kept. It's just election time, so the rhetoric flows, but not the commitment, and certainly not the money. Cynicism rages in America's inner cities. I mean, just a rumor of a police shooting started a riot in Minneapolis. It turned out, of course, not to be true. A cop didn't shoot anybody. But even just the rumor was enough to ignite the short fuse of discontent that currently pervades urban America. Forget who's to blame. It's too late for that. The fact is, third and fourth generation poor folk don't believe any of us anymore. Our institutions have helped rip their families apart. There's no base, no education, no economic support. The supremely gifted make it out, but most, of course, don't. And they don't believe politicians give a damn, except to get their vote and agree to keep the peace. Except for Jesse Jackson, that is. He is a bridge across troubled waters. The disenfranchised do listen to him because he really does listen to them, and he hears their cries. And we can slough him off. We can say, oh, that's just Jesse Jackson grandstanding again, and choose to ignore him. But if we do so at our own peril. We ignore a gifted voice and a valuable conduit to a part of America we haven't let in. Simply put, if we don't find room for Jesse Jackson and the forgotten and alienated Americans he represents, if we chase these folks out of the system, what avenue is left for them to vent their anger? If the politicians won't listen, if the courts won't listen, if the media won't listen, if we keep chasing them away, we will eventually chase them onto the streets. And then suddenly we'll cry, oh, Jesse, could you help us? But then it'll be too late, even for him. Maybe we ought to listen to him now. Some of the things he says seem kind of funny, but not listening to him's a riot.
You can now call them the Red Hot Reds. They've been doing real well.
Except they're running into the Red Hot Cards.
Cards played some great baseball over the weekend. We're going to talk about that. I mean, coming out of that 9-0 hole was amazing. Reds off today after winning 4 of their last 5, but now they got the Cardinals, and the Cards are playing some pretty good ball. Saturday night, they trailed 9-0 and 11-3, but this 2-run dinger here by Felix Jose, if you can believe it, ties the game at 11, and there was more. Later in the 8th inning, Luis Alicea pokes this little number to left field. That scores Brian Jordan from second. Cards go in to win that one, 12-11. The Braves had to wonder what the heck was going on, and that was not a fluke Saturday. Sunday, they're trailing by 1 in the 9th. Tom Pagnozzi takes one the other way. Look at this nice little piece of hitting here. Yes, sir. That scores 2 runs. Cards pull that one out 6-5. They are 9-6 at home, and obviously they don't lay down. Reds go after them tomorrow at 8:30. You can see the game right here on Channel 5. Now, elsewhere in baseball, what about Mark McGwire? The man is burning hot. He's on a home run pace that would easily give him the single-season record for home runs. Yesterday, against the Yankees, of all teams, McGwire hammered this shot, looks like a 2-iron, over the left field wall. That blast was his 15th of the year, far and away the best in the majors. Next best, I think, is 10. Let's see how McGwire's numbers stack up with the 2 best single-season home run hitters. The big redhead is way ahead of the 32-game pace of both Babe Ruth and Roger Maris. Ruth had 10 after 32 games and 27. Maris only had 7. And I would say, from looking at McGwire's swing, that the one thing you don't want to do is pitch that guy down. Will they do it? Hard to say. All right, basketball. In the NBA playoffs tonight, Phoenix and Portland square off in Game 4 of the NBA Western Conference semis. Portland leads the series 2-1. Meanwhile, yesterday at the Boston Garden, Larry Bird made his return to the lineup after missing 5 weeks with back spasms. Now, Larry Legend didn't exactly light it up. He could only muster 4 points in 17 minutes of action. Bird even had a chance to be the hero of the game. With the clock running out in the overtime period, Bird misses this driving layup The Celts get the rebound. Reggie Lewis fires up a bad one, and then John Bagley tosses up a prayer, but it's no go. Cavs down the Celtics 114-112 after the game. Bird questioned the officiating.
Reggie got fouled. Because they don't have the to call it, that's not my problem. So we'll just go on from here and try to do our best. And you don't want these games to come down to the last shots because things like that happen.
That series is tied up at 2 games apiece. Game 5 is Wednesday up in Cleveland. 9 inductees into basketball's Hall of Fame today. Quite a crew, too. Among the 9, Al McGuire. He coached Marquette to the national championship in '77. Former St. John's head coach Lou Carnesecca. Carnesecca led the Redmen to 24 straight postseason appearances. And Jack Ramsey, the second winningest coach in NBA history. Players that were inducted today include 4-time All-Star Connie Hawkins and the man with a size 22 feet, 8-time All-Star Bob Lanier. Also inducted the late Phil Wolpert, Soviet standout Sergei Belov, and 2 women, Lucia Harris and Nara Dyson. And at Indianapolis, race day coming ever closer, and yesterday a rather strange circumstance. Yesterday, Jim Crawford blows an engine. Now they're pushing the car back to the pits. They push the car over crewman Mike Perkins' foot, breaks his foot. Some days you just can't win. As for Crawford's teammate Robert Guerrero, he's the man nobody can catch. He takes the pole with a record speed of 2:32, 4.82. The rest of the front row, Eddie Cheever at just over 2:29. Mario Andretti right behind him. Row 2 has Ari Lyondike, Gary Bettenhausen, and Michael Andretti. And in row 3, you've got Scott Brayton and former winners Danny Sullivan and Rick Mears. They're doing some serious charging over there. As for Mike Perkins, the man who got run over, his foot run over, he's not moving that fast today.
I bet not. Gosh, I remember when the winner would win at 180,
Oh, yeah, I remember that all too well as well. Yeah.
Moving fast. Thanks a lot, Greg. Coming up at 11 on News 5 tonight. News 5's Lisa Cooney shows us law enforcement in the 90s. High-tech cops are not the wave of the future. They're here now, and we'll show you their newest weapons. That's at 11 on News 5. Thanks for joining us. NBC Nightly News is up next.
And then we'll be back with updates every hour on the hour. Full report at 11. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
Good night.